23 to 5, joining me in the studio, the member for Higgins, representing the Liberal Party, Kelly O'Dwyer. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tom.
And the member for Corio, the Shadow Minister for Trade, the former Minister for Immigration, I think it was.
Other way around.
Oh, you're the Shadow for Immigration, former Minister for Trade.
Exactly.
Richard Marles.
How are you, Tom?
I'm good.
Hi, Tom.
She's got a lot of titles these days.
Hi, Richard.
Now, first, Kelly,
Yes.
you've been working on a committee to try and stop Chinese people buying all of our houses. How's that going?
Well, I wouldn't characterise it quite like that, Tom. I mean, we've been tasked by the Treasurer to actually have a good look at the issue of foreign investment in residential real estate. And what we've been asked to do is to say whether or not we think that the current framework as it applies right now is working. And just to explain to your listeners, basically under the current framework at the moment, we encourage foreign investment into new dwelling stock, which we believe means that that's going to have more ability for people being able to purchase or rent here in Australia, but also that it has a huge economic dividend because builders and suppliers obviously benefit from that. But under the current framework, we do have restrictions on non-resident foreign investors being able to purchase. We actually prohibit that completely, being able to purchase existing homes.
But my understanding, though, is that someone on a temporary visa,
can
buy a house.
A temporary visa, you can apply to FIRB and you can purchase one existing home.
And the idea is you're supposed to sell it when you leave.
Correct.
But from what I've read, no one bothers to check when people do leave whether or not they sell the house. And my in-laws, who live out in glorious Baldwin, say that, you know, every second house is being bought by someone from China, then they're just locked up and left empty, and that's the end of it. I mean, that doesn't seem to be what the policy's all about.
No, indeed. In fact, it's very important that the policy is adhered to and it's properly enforced. Now, we heard some evidence from the Foreign Investment Review Board and the Treasury Division that actually deals with the enforcement of this particular policy, and we heard that very basic things like getting a list of all of the people who have left the country on the expiry of their visa being sent to FIRB isn't happening as a matter of course right now.
So what are you going to do about it?
So we've got a recommendation that says the Migration Act is going to need to be changed so that it allows FIRB to access that data, and that data ought to be supplied directly to them.
Now, Richard Marles, what do you think? I mean, this has gone on under both governments, Labor and Liberal. Do you think the pressure that particularly Chinese nationals, but other people from overseas are putting on our housing market, do you think it should be wound back?
Well, I think firstly we need to get a sense of who is doing the buying. I feel uncomfortable when we focus in on one country, and I've not sat on this committee, but it would surprise me if it wasn't possible to get data as to exactly who from overseas is
you
buying.
Can't. So here's the thing, Richard. Right now today, you can't get a breakdown of data as to the source country for residential property at the moment. FIRB will give combined data on commercial real estate and also residential real estate, and you can rank that by source country. But you cannot break it down in residential real estate at the moment. That data is not captured. One of our key recommendations is going to be to have a national register.
Yeah, well, I think that makes sense. Because that's really surprising, because you would think that you would be able to capture the data based on, I mean, if you need to have a visa to demonstrate your capacity to buy the property, then the data obviously exists. But anyway, that sounds like a good recommendation there.
I've also read that foreign property buyers are going to have to pay some sort of special application fee to fund all this data capture and increased powers for the Foreign Investment Review Board. Is that true?
Well, it is true. We are going to have a modest application fee as a recommendation to the government, and I'll tell you why. We believe it's important to have a user pay system. At the moment, the Australian taxpayer is funding the Foreign Investment Review Board to do the job that it does, and they are under-resourced to do it. We think that a modest application fee for all of those people who are applying to purchase properties in Australia is a sensible thing to do, and it will mean that we have better audit, compliance and enforcement in place to make sure that those people who are not doing the right thing under our framework are caught and that they are properly prosecuted under our laws.
All right, 96900 693 13 13 32. Richard Marles, I don't know if you're a fan of SBS, whether you watch South Park or The Walking Dead or Dateline, but Malcolm Fraser has said today that he reckons Tony Abbott has a secret plan to sell off SBS. Do you think that's true?
Well, that's obviously a question you'd have to ask of Tony Abbott, but
or Malcolm Fraser. Well, I'm asking you.
Well, I don't know whether they have a plan, but if you're asking me what I think about SBS, I think it's a really important facility, and there's a lot in our community, particularly migrant communities, who
But
are...
it doesn't show migrant shows much anymore. I mean, most of the programs are in English.
Well, its mandate is absolutely to be able to provide to that community, and I think that's a very important function to be had. And certainly SBS Radio unquestionably provides that service to a whole lot of migrant communities, and so I think it is a really important service, and it concerns us greatly that what this government has done, having promised that there wouldn't be any cuts, the ABC and SBS have done exactly that.
No, it's an efficiency dividend. Calls in a moment, 96900 693. When it's a cut, not a cut. When it's an efficiency dividend, look out for those. It's 18 to 5.
You know, it's quite difficult. We have to sort of look up recipes, and you first get your tagliatelle.
Ross and John.
You know, it's a bit difficult for them too. An Italian chef trying to use the well-known ingredient Worcestershire sauce.
We gotta use this one star shisha.
What?
One chest shisha.
Back Monday morning when you wake up.
So if you're frightened of a word, just come onto a radio program, confront your fears, and say the word. Peter?
Municipality.
Melbourne's own 3AW.
The Mornington BMW pre-Christmas sales event is on now. For 2 days only, enjoy outstanding savings across the range. Visit Mornington BMW today, and it ends 5 p.m. Saturday. Mornington Tired Road, Mornington. LMCT 7674.
G'day, I'm Don Burke, and let me give you a tip. I've tested lots of fertilisers in my time, and I've recently started using Powerfeed, and the results have been outstanding. Powerfeed is an organically based fish fertiliser that contains all the food that your plants love and need for healthy growth. But the thing that makes it so special is that it contains fabulous soil conditioners, sort of like a probiotic for your soil. So if your plants need a quick lift, you need Powerfeed. Your plants will love you for it.
How do you do? I'm Scott Goodman from Goodman Group Lawyers. Your marriage is over and you're worried about what's going to happen to your home, investments and superannuation. You need Goodman Group Lawyers. You're unsure who's entitled to what. You need Goodman Group Lawyers. You're being intimidated by your partner. You need Goodman Group Lawyers. Do something about it. Visit goodmangroup.com.au to arrange your first free consultation with one of my experienced lawyers. Goodman Group Lawyers. Your lawyers.
At AGL, we create energy solutions for every part of every day, like the day you move house. With the AGL Move-In Guarantee, we promise your power will be on the day you move in. We'll even send you text messages along the way to keep you up to date. Call us anytime 24/7 on 1300 AGL Move to arrange connection. Eligibility criteria apply. Customer credits for late connection available. See agl.com.au/move. AGL, proudly Australian since 1837.
Corruption investigations on both sides. Voted Labor, voted Liberal. Voted Labor again, voted Liberal again. Wipe the slate clean. Vote 1, Palmer United for the Legislative Council. Authorised by Jason Kennedy for the Palmer United Party, Melbourne.
Super Santa Weekend at Harvey Norman. Christmas launches with massive deals store-wide. Get your free photo with Santa and 25% off all Santa photo packs. Minimum 20% off selected in-stock furniture. Up to 50% off mattresses, ensembles and Manchester. Bonus underlay with all carpet and timber purchases. Lots more Christmas deals in store. Limit 1 free photo per family. Check for Santa appearance times. Savings off normal ticketed prices. Conditions and exclusions apply. Super Santa Weekend at Harvey Norman.
The Brighton BMW pre-Christmas sales event is now on. For 2 days only, enjoy outstanding savings across the range. Visit Brighton BMW today, and it ends at 5 p.m. Saturday.
363 Nepean Highway, Brighton.
LMCT 7674.
Hi, Michael Fox here from Little Projects. If you're thinking of investing in property, don't miss our newly completed Brunswick East apartments from only $539,000. Plus, we'll pay the stamp duty for you. So visit our display street in Western Street this weekend. Visit littleprojects.com.au for details.
Until 6, Drive with Tom Elliott. A 3AW cricket update
for Harvey Norman.
Leaders in home audio.
It is 4:45. We'll go back to calls for Kelly O'Dwyer and Richard Marles in a moment. First, though, Shane McGuinness is live at the MCG. Shane, what's happening?
This fourth wicket stand now looking dangerous for Australia. Tom A.B. de Villiers and David Miller now worth 108 runs. De Villiers leading the way, unbeaten on 68. South Africa in its 36 over, 3 for 185.
Thanks, Shane. We'll talk to you again after the 5 o'clock news. Joan, good afternoon. No, Joan's gone. Shirley, hello.
Oh, hi, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, good, Shirley.
Look, I'd like to put something to both Kelly and Richard. Usually elections in Australia are between, like the Coalition and Labour with some minor parties. But I think in this election it's more like the Coalition against the unions.
But why do you say that, Shirley?
Well, because they seem to be far stronger than they've ever been before. I mean, even the ambulances, that irritates me with all that scroll all over it.
All right, well, so let's go to Richard. I mean, you're a member of the Labor Party. How strong is the union influence inside Labor? I mean, is it very strong, partly strong? I mean, do they ring you up and tell you what to say?
No, of course they don't.
I don't know.
Well, they absolutely don't. And, I mean, the Liberal Party would want you to believe that that's how it works and that the CFMEU just puts in a call and then that's how people make decisions. It's obviously that is not the case. Unions have a really important role to play within our society, and it's important that they are given that opportunity to play that role, and it's important that we have an industrial relations system which balances that role. But Labor absolutely is in favour of a balanced industrial relations system like that. And yes, we've been a union-based party for a long time, and we obviously support the work that unions do in the workplace. But to suggest that the way in which it operates is that unions put in a phone call and dictate policy is just completely wrong.
Wasn't there a Labor leader in the early 60s, though, who, was told to wait outside while the union leaders...
That's the original Faceless Man and the famous thing. But
I'm not sure much has changed since that time.
We're talking about the 1960s, and we're now 50 years down the track, and an awful lot has changed.
Can I ask you a question, Richard, about this? Because, you say that you're not influenced by the unions, but we've got a militant union here in this state, the CFMEU, which the Royal Commission has exposed practices there that are criminal, where they breach court orders, where they're completely impervious to the law as it stands today, and we have seen example after example, including with Borrell most recently. They don't care what fines are in place, and yet Daniel Andrews, who actually wants to be Premier of this state, is directly connected to the CFMEU. He allowed them back into the socialist
He wears a CFMEU hat.
His planning spokesperson says that he is a paid-up and proud member of the CFMEU. Construction costs in this state are double that of anywhere else. I mean, if he is given a chance to be Premier, surely the CFMEU are going to be even more powerful. Today, they run right, but they will be even more powerful.
What will be completely clear if Daniel Andrews becomes the Premier is that anybody out there, be it union or anyone else, who breaches the law will face the full force of the law.
Well,
and that will apply
are you a member of the union?
Oh, I am a member of the union.
Do you have to be a member of a union to join the Labor Party?
Oh, I don't think so anymore. I think that rule varies from state to state. But I mean, the answer to that question is we absolutely need as a party to be embracing people well beyond the union movement, as important as it is to embrace people within the union movement.
Who isn't a member of the union movement who's part of your party? In the leadership team currently?
Oh, well, I can't answer the question as to...
one.
Well, I can't answer the question as to what organisations all these people are part of, but I'm sure if you go and look at their register of interest, you'll be able to find that out. But just because you're a member of a union doesn't mean... I mean, these are organisations which have tens of thousands of people who are members of them. It's hardly that you are part of their decision-making structure, or indeed that those unions are dictating what you have to do.
Well, they pre-select you, they fund you. You can't say they have no influence. I mean, it's just nonsensical.
And there are a whole lot of entities which... There are a whole lot of entities which fund the Liberal Party and people who are members of the Liberal Party. At the end of the day, you get to see what decisions we make. And what is Daniel Andrews will see the full force of the law apply to anyone who's in breach of it, and where there have been breaches...
He can't even stand up to his planning spokesperson.
Well, let me finish. Where there have been breaches of the law in the construction industry, then people will face the full brunt of the law, and that is how it will work under a future Victorian Labor government, if that's what occurs a week or so from now.
Richard, if it makes you feel better, there's a very passionate Essendon supporter who listens to this program who thinks that I take my orders from the Carlton Football Club and that whenever we say a bad thing about Essendon and the drug saga, that it's Carlton, or if it's Caroline Wilson, it's the Richmond Football Club telling us what to say. So
I wonder if that's my husband.
There are parallels in that sort of paranoia as there are the way the Liberal Party approaches us.
I had a Freemason on the program before, and there's still, I mean, in the old days, people used to think that you know, the Grand Poobah at the head of the Freemasons would ring people up and tell them what to say in politics.
And who knows what happened back in the 50s, but really, in 2014, with all the scrutiny that we have, we're responsive to the public, and that's how it should be.
Very quickly, lightning fast, we're not going to speak to you again before the state election. Kelly, who's going to win?
The Premier? Dennis Napthine.
Dennis Napthine. No, Richard, who do you think will win?
It'll be close. It's not over yet. I think Labor will win. Don't know it.
Well, there you go. Kelly O'Dwyer, Richard Marles, good to talk with you. We'll do it again in a fortnight. 9600 6